located in downtown Ocala. If you have legal issues, don't go it alone. Call 352-732-7218. Blanchard, Miriam, Adele, and Kirkland, helping protect your liberties every day.
Tick-tock. The days fly by, and we find tax season is upon us once again. Not to worry, though. With a reputable CPA firm on your side, you can rest assured that all of your needs will be handled in a professional and thorough manner. Robson, Scribner, and Stewart is just that firm. They're there for their clients year-round, not just during tax season, to handle your needs and answer any questions you may encounter. At Robson, Scribner, and Stewart, there is no client too small or too large. Their expertise ranges from the single individual to the largest of corporations. Get your return prepared by a professional who will use their years of experience to ensure that your tax return's outcome will leave you in the best possible position. Call them today at 694-4184. Robson, Scribner, and Stewart. They're there for you today. Again, that number is 694-4184. Time is of the essence, so don't delay. 694-4184.
Partly sunny today with a shower or thunderstorm around, high 81 to 87. Tonight mainly clear, low 58. Tomorrow, Saturday and Sunday, it will be pleasant with sunshine, high 80 to 87. High Saturday and Sunday, high 84 to 89. Monday, plenty of sunshine. We'll have a high Monday of 88 to 91. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm Brian May.
The Centers is open for services. They can provide telehealth services via iPhone or Android cell phone or computer. Please call them at 352-291-5555.
WOCA. Ocala.
And you're listening to AM Ocala Live, WOCA, The Source, 96.3 FM, 1370 AM, as we are now 20 minutes before the top of the 9 o'clock hour. As we finished up our segment there with Galen from Life South Community Blood Centers, we want to give a shout-out to Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. I'd like to thank Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, located at 2700 Southwest 34th Street, as they offer skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and speech therapy. If you have any questions on how they're handling the COVID-19 and what maybe their expectations are as the stay-at-home order goes away and what will be happening from them and their guidelines, please give them a call, 352-854-6262. That's 854-6262. And, of course, Penn Flooring. Penn Flooring, we have them as a full-service flooring company dedicated to finding the best solution for your flooring needs. Remember, they have experience in both the commercial and residential fields, and they've been family-owned and operated. They've been serving Marion County for over 30-plus years. Every bit of their success is to their unrivaled customer service, where they can be found at 1201 Southwest 17th Street in Ocala at 352-351-3420. That's 351-3420. As Penn Flooring and Health, Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center. A little shout out to them as we're sponsoring the segment. As we talked with Galen there, as we got to the top of the 8 o'clock hour with discussing about the new executive order of the governor's expectations to reopen some things within the state. As we were going through some of the FAQs, getting into, and we're going to touch base on that as we're now doing news bits, and we'll cover a little bit more with the articles within Ocala as well. But just to touch base on this, as I want to generalize and go through, it says that the executive order of 20-112 for the Phase 1 Safe, Smart, Step-by-Step Plan for Florida's Recovery Post-COVID-19 executive order says that the governor's order takes effect Monday, May 4th at 12:01 a.m., and that lasts until the governor issues a subsequent order. After that, it says that the essential services and activities extended until 12:01 Monday, May 4th. At that point, Executive Order 20-112 will maintain limitations on the movements of persons except for those businesses and services that are currently open and those businesses that reopen at 25% building occupancy. And obviously, it's the question of, does this order apply to all Florida counties? However, in coordination with Miami, Dade, Broward, Palm Beach county mayors, these three counties will follow stricter protocol without reopen provisions of the 20-112 order, obviously, because those are the higher cases, the COVID-19 areas. The other expectations is on the medical side, it says, can I go to my doctor if it's not COVID-19 related? To medical services, including elective procedures, surgical centers, office surgery centers, dental offices, orthodontic offices, endodontic office, and other healthcare practitioners' office are fully reopened. As a condition of resuming elective procedures, hospitals will be required to assist nursing homes and long-term care facilities in their efforts to protect the vulnerable. However, they must maintain adequate bed capacity and PPE. They must also have the capacity to immediately convert additional surgical and intensive care beds in a surge situation, and must not have received or sought any additional federal, state, or local government assistance regarding PPE after resuming elective procedures. It says here that many senior citizens and individuals with significant medical conditions leave their homes to go to the grocery store or pharmacy or go for a walk or go to work. Yes, they may leave their homes to obtain or provide services or conduct open activities. It says then the idea of, can individuals visit nursing homes and long-term care facilities? No, as those restrictions will remain in place of the Phase 1, step-by-step, plans for Florida recovery and conditions, the agency healthcare administration. Now, Galen and I discussing certain things about the idea of the business and 25% capacity stuff doesn't make sense to us. But the idea of the Phase 1 with the expectations of nursing homes, long-term care facilities, and the expectation of healthcare makes sense when you talk Phase 1 on the safe, smart, step-by-step idea. That to us holds water. It says in the idea of travel, it says in airport screening and isolations in effect for visitors to the highly affected COVID-19 areas. Yes, airport screening and isolation of individuals traveling to Florida with expectations for the military, emergency, health, infrastructure, or commercial-related activity. And we got a caller on the air. Good morning, WOCA. You're on the air.
Good morning, Adam.
Morning, Sonny. How you doing today?
Earlier, you were talking with Galen, as you said, about this Wuhan flu.
Right.
And I remember hearing a news article. It was either very early January or very late February, about when the news broke about this virus escaping the lab, that 5,000 to 10,000 Chinese or people from Wuhan left Wuhan. They also left China and went to various places all around the world. That sure smells like somebody was spreading the virus all around the world to me, because how does a virus hit a place like Italy and devastated before we were really truly hit? We were just hearing about our cases in Washington State and Oregon. So to me, I think this really should be investigated more. And I only heard that news report once.
Right.
And all of a sudden, it was like it never happened. But I do remember hearing it. I may be an old person, and my memory may be a little foggy, but I definitely know what I heard.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering what you think.
Yeah. No, I get it. There has originally what I had when I had done some research and seen what had come out of Wuhan, a big thing was the wet markets.
I'll hang up so I can listen.
You got it, partner. Thanks for the call, too, by the way, there. As I was doing my research on it a little bit, a lot had come up with the wet markets in China. And what they mean by wet markets is basically like it's a market, open-air market, where you can go and get anything that your heart really desires as far as food, whether it be something as basically goat or bat or some kind of rodent that they have, some kind of lizard, just an all-out, all kinds of varieties of different things that you can get, different meats and stuff, and part of which in the way that those were ran was what was the expectation of leading to a spread or a contagion or the contamination of how you'd have the virus get the way it was. Okay, so it was initially wet markets. And there's one in Wuhan. But then also there was a lot of information, and it wasn't just a few weeks ago that they were starting to summarize on national news that there was more to do and more investigating concepts coming from the fact that the lab in Wuhan was, or meddling with, so to speak, something of a virus that they lost control of or something to that extent. So there is a lot of convolution on what really is going on there. And then what Sonny was touching base on was what something else a lot of people had heard. And he's not crazy for pointing that out. That is something that we heard in the beginning. Now, as far as the Italy idea goes, it's like, well, whoa, for it to spread so bad in Italy, when you think about this coming from China, where does Italy fall in it? They actually, there was some research done that I found out that they actually do a lot with China, Italy does, in regards to some global market expectations and what they do with working abroad type programs and stuff like that. There's actually an influx of China nationals within Italy and stuff, and then they say that rendered a lot of the travel coming from China to Italy, and then of course the health infrastructure of Italy and everything had come from that. So maybe that's where our alarm was and how Italy was handling this and everything. But going back to his comment about, well, there was a certain number of people within the entity that were dealing with the virus, and then all of a sudden they went elsewhere around the world, and what he was getting at was the idea of maybe the purposefulness of spreading a virus around the world. Who knows at that point? At the end of it, it sounds like some weird, dark James Bond plot to render some mastermind behind it, and he just didn't get to it in time. It is kind of crazy, and I think it's always important to start asking some crazy questions outside the box, because there has been some research done. Like we said, it's just a few weeks ago that National News was reporting of what went on in Wuhan with some of the labs there, and some of that information coming about that actually holds water a little bit of them creating the virus there. And then, like I said, I heard it more from a nature-esque standpoint of like what happens at these wet markets. It's all very, very fascinating. And what I think was interesting, and probably the reason, Sonny, you brought that up too, is just what we were touching base with in Galen and I's conversation about where he was starting to look up some deeper insight and information research on what the World Health Organization was and who it's, so to speak, kind of ran by or funded by. And like he said, as he went down that rabbit hole, he was starting to find more information that isn't as comfortable thinking about what the organization is maybe originally up there for when you look at who funds it and so forth. All great questions, and that's why sometimes I always wish that I wasn't necessarily doing an AM lighthearted, entertaining, but informational radio show. Sometimes I wish that I was doing a red eye at night, 12 a.m., conspiracy talk radio, like Coast to Coast or something to that extent, because there's a lot of interesting conversation out there that needs to be had about it, and I don't have much an opinion on it here, but I welcome the question, and I thank you for it. So as we move on just a little bit, as we were talking, just coming out of this COVID-19 stuff now with all these executive order issuance from the governor, as we were kind of going through some of the frequently asked questions that come with the related idea of getting back to some normalcy here. In the idea of the businesses opening back up, it says, can I open my business? Restaurants will be allowed to reopen. Other businesses will be allowed to be open. As restaurants will be allowed to reopen with full outdoor seating, indoor seating will be allowed to 25% of the building capacity. On-site sale and retail businesses will be allowed to operate at 25% occupancy. If your business is open, it may remain open and should continue to appropriate social distancing and sanitation measures. Also, in any activity or work that has been available under the previous order remains available. Businesses should adopt appropriate social distancing and sanitation measures. That makes sense. 25%. I'd like to hear your opinion on it, 622-9622. Does that make sense? What's the difference between full outdoor seating, but yet being inside only 25%? And how big of an impact does that have? And is that really going to hold up? Now, if it doesn't, here's the other question is, as we got farther along, it says if businesses do not comply with the 25% capacity, do they get fined? Yeah, they do. It's an enforcement penalty that remains in place, including a second-degree misdemeanor, up to $500. And certain regulated businesses may face enforcement action for violations from the regular agency, such as the health agency or something like that. So that's interesting in itself. And obviously who enforces that compliance is the local and state law enforcement. So they continue to enforce the executive orders, which has been a little bit interesting since we, here in the state of Florida, began the stay-at-home order, just when it came to local law enforcement having to execute those orders and so forth. But I think amongst everything that goes through and through here, and we were talking about the exercise gyms are not open yet, and can I go to a professional sporting event? No, there's no sports going on right now anyway. But sporting venues may not operate with spectators from the beginning anyway. Can I rent or stay in the vacation rental? No, not yet. Not in phase one. The prohibition of vacation rentals remains in effect. State parks. The governor's executive order has not closed beaches other than those at the request of the Broward and Palm Beach. And Florida's Department of Environmental Protection will announce a phase-in reopening of state parks. Like we said, just open them. They're outside. Open them. May child care centers remain open. Some of them have opened up, and yes, they may remain open if currently able to, and as long as they follow the proper social distancing and other guidelines. Museums and libraries, they are open with, again, the 25% of the occupancy as long as their local government allows. But I think the big thing that was, like we said, a big exhale for a lot of people, and something that now I think they can look forward to, is churches, synagogues, and other houses of worship hold their services. It says, yes, identified attending religious services at churches, synagogues, and places of worship as an open activity. While that order did not place restrictions directly on any building or venue, many local orders have done so. Any building or venue that is open should, again, just continue to follow the appropriate social distancing and sanitation procedures. But churches are open. Churches are open. And that's a big one. That's where I'm saying that's probably a big sigh of relief there, nonetheless. Now, as far as that, and starting on Monday, Marion County and much of Florida will start moving towards that normalcy, but with the phase one. The first steps include loosening restrictions on restaurants, hospitals, and retail stores like we've been talking about. And as it moves on, it says restaurants can now resume indoor dining at 25% capacity, and outdoor seating can resume with 6 feet apart from the tables. Tim Thomas, owner of Brooklyn's Backyard and a partner of the Big Hammock Brewing Company, hoped for 50% capacity. Quote, "It's still going to be tough, though, with 25% seating. I've got capacity for 90. 25% of that is about 20 people. That's not enough to make it." He doesn't have outdoor seating at Brooklyn's Backyard, and Big Hammock only has a couple outdoor tables. He doesn't expect a big rush of customers to establishments like this, but people have been cooped up. They are going to want to go to these places that have outdoor seating, especially because the weather's going to be gorgeous. Who wants to go inside a restaurant knowing this is still in our community? It's going to be tough. Retail locations can also start opening at 25% capacity. So there you go. As we're making our way now 10 seconds to the top of the 9 o'clock hour, stay tuned. Veteran News is next. You're listening to WOCA Ocala, and Veterans News is next. Stay tuned for that. We'll be back after this.
Fox News, I'm Lillian Wu. Beaches in Alabama reopen today as it becomes one of the dozens of states easing coronavirus restrictions.
By the end of the month, stay-at-home orders will have expired in a total of 12 states. And President Trump says he will not extend federal social distancing guidelines.
That's Fox's Jonathan Seri. Those guidelines expire today.